Okay, this is how I create a worship service in Ableton Live. Right now I'm just looking at the outline for Sunday morning. You can see two groups of songs, and then the final song here is just piano and vocals only, so I don't need to use that in Ableton. I will only need to do these two groups along with the other parts of the service. And as you can see, there are stops at the end of these two groups because there's a scripture reading and of course this sermon. So I've got to create a way for the service to stop as well. Now the first thing I do is I go to my external hard drive called Founders 2. I click on Multitracks, and this is where I keep all the Ableton files right there in Multitracks folder, as well as songs. There are some retired songs as well, but mainly in this folder. The worship projects down here are previous worship projects organized by date, including prior years. So that's where I will save this service. But for now, we will go to Work, Multitracks, and start with the first song. So here are all the different songs and folders. The first song is It Was Finished Upon That Cross. So what I will do is I will go back to this folder, go down to that file, and then I will double click to get inside the file. And then there is the file right there, and I'm going to double click and it will open up Ableton Live. And you can see that the file itself has 156 BPM and 6/8 time with E flat as the key, and all of them are organized that way. Okay, so here Ableton Live is going to open this first song. It takes a few seconds. This is what Ableton Live looks like. The first thing I'm going to do is actually change the outputs to the screencast so it will capture the sound. That's the first thing I do. And what you see here is several tracks in a line. There's a tempo, a click, a cue track, and locators. The tempo just kind of keeps the track in time for the whole song. The click is simply a click. The cues are indicators as to where we are in the song. So if, for instance, I open this up, we can see like what a MIDI note would look like right before the verse. And in fact, let's listen to that, and you'll hear what it sounds like. And boom, and then you can hear the verse coming in. I'm going to turn this down a little bit so it's not too loud as I play it. Okay. And then a locator is just a way for me to organize the song. There's no notes associated with that. It just tells me where I am in the song. Just my own little way of doing that. So there are two backing tracks, a synth lead. There's the actual audio portion of the file. And then a synth that's more like your typical pad throughout a song. And then an omnisphere. That's how I made these two tracks. So in case I ever need to alter them, I can go back in and do that. But for now, I really don't need that omnisphere file. You can see it says the file at the top, but what I need to do is save that as a new file that is the worship day. So I'm going to save this in that folder I mentioned, worship projects. I'm going to title it worship 7/18/21. This is just going to be for the AM service, so I'll put AM here and then save it in that folder. And now any alterations I do will only be saved to that instead of the original song. So I can go here to Omnisphere, for instance, and delete it because we don't need it. Okay, so what next thing we're going to do is I'm going to add what's called a locator. And a locator is a way to assign a key trigger to a specific song, which allows you to kind of go back to it really quickly and also drop other files in that specific spot. So I'm going to add a locator here, just double click and then add locator, and then I'm going to assign a keystroke to it. So you go here at the top right, press key, and it's going to assign it to this number 1 over there. So I'm pressing key, and what it does, it'll highlight in orange all these areas where you can assign keystrokes, and one of them is of course a locator. So I'll press on that, I'll click on it, and then touch number 1 on my keyboard, and then you can see it adds a keypad. So now anytime to turn this off, anytime I press number 1, it doesn't matter where I am in the song. When I press number 1, or spacebar to stop, I press number 1, it will take me back to the beginning. You can see how it went back to the beginning automatically. So that's the first thing that I do. And so now I'm going to assign a key stroke to the second song, which is, let me go back here to my webpage, it is Raised to Life. Okay, so go back to Ableton, I'm going to go over here where this song ends and zoom in a little bit, and I'm going to add a keystroke to that area. Now there are two ways to view these songs. You can view it by pressing tab. You can view it over here. I've done it before, but I don't really like it. I like to use this timeline option for Ableton and Live Worship. So I'm going to add a keystroke here to the end where I can drop in the next song. The first thing I need to do though is listen and figure out when this song will actually end and when it would be a good point to add a new one as a transition. So let's listen to this song.
And 4, 5, 6.
That's where it ends. So Raise to Life should probably be in this area right here. I'm going to put it here at 207. So I'm going to add another locator. This time it's song number 2, not number 1. So song number 2, and then we'll title it Raise to Life. And now I'm going to add a keystroke or key path to that number, just like I did for the first one. Press key, click on that area, press number 2, and it adds a key path. So I can quickly get to that song. And we'll do the same thing in worship by adding MIDI notes to those. I'm going to move this tempo track over here because that's where I'm going to start the new song. Okay, and now I have these two tracks over here. We're going to group those together in just a moment. So let me go over to the multi-tracks. I'm going to find Raise to Life, which is right here, and you can see it says 78 BPM, 4/4 is the time signature, and B flat is the key that we play it in, and that's just a folder. So I'll open the folder, and I'm going to go to the one that says B flat. I've got a couple other options, but that's the main one. And then I open that up, and there's a file there that says use this. That's the main file I will use for Raise to Life. So I'm going to drag that into the timeline. So there's the whole song dragged in there, but it's overlapped on It Was Finished on the Cross. So what I need to do is cut it from here, press number 2, and it will automatically put where that locator is, and then Command V. I'm in the Mac, so I would do Command V, and it will paste it right there in that area. Now there's some holes in this song. It does this with Raise to Life for some reason, and I just have to move these lines over a little bit. These stems, as I call them. So I'm going to move these over and zoom in some, move it right here where the track is, and go to here and find the guide. Also move this one over to where the guide is right there. Zoom in, try to get this correct. Okay, so guide is right there. And we've got a couple other places to do this. This click track, this is what it looks like, the audio file. So basically I'm just moving all the way down so that it connects with the other. And then the guide here, and move this one over as well. A couple more. I don't know why it does this on Raise to Life, but for whatever reason I always have to move these over. You'll see in just a second. When I add other songs, I never have to do this stuff for Raise to Life up here. Now there are several tracks here that I purchased this track from multitracks.com. So there's several here that I don't need, such as drums and percussion and bass. I don't need any of those. So I'm going to highlight them over on the right, and I'm going to delete them. So I'm just clicking each one. I don't need a piano because I play that. The keys one, that's like a pad, so I'll use that. But the others I'm just delete. I'm going to use an acoustic guitar this week because our acoustic guitar player is out. So now I need to connect these files as well. I do that there. Let's see, here's this one. I'm going to connect these. The end is fine except for we need a fade. Actually, we don't need a fade right there. So that's what the audio file looks like. What I'm going to do here is zoom in, and I'm going to do what's called a crossfade. And a crossfade is a way to sort of combine two files, or two stems, in a way that smooths over the break that's in between them. And you do that by pressing Option Command F. So I'm going to do that at each one of these places where I have where I've connected these two stems. So we find a good spot to do that. That looks good. Option Command F, that'll be create a crossfade. And see if there's another. Oh, there's actually another section over here I need to connect. So when we grab this, connect these files together. And there we go. And so now I'm going to zoom in, and do another crossfade, and there we go. And so we press Option Command F, and there we go. That works. Okay, so so now what I want to do is just kind of group these files together. I want to put the template track up here on number 2. I can just cut it from where it is right now, and then go up here, press number 2. It'll automatically put it where I want it, and then paste. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the locators. Cut that right there. Go up here, press 2, paste. And then that's good. And then these others, I'm going to go and delete these because I've moved them. These other files, I'm just going to group them together. First, I'm going to make sure they're all the same color. We'll do it first. Let me group these first two. You do Command G, we'll group them, and Command R to rename it. I'm going to rename this It Was Finished. That's the name of the song. Now let me close it and minimize that. You do the same here. I just want to make it the same color, so make it all yellow. And then I'm going to make sure that I assign the same color to all the tracks here. This is really easy to do in Ableton. Command G for group, and then Command R to rename, raise to. Okay. Now, the next thing I want to do is just play this over here and make sure it's pretty smooth from the transition from one song to the next. So let's play this.
4, 5, 6.
1,
And that
Two.
actually sounds
1, 2, 3.
pretty good, I think. I think that will work. So spacebar stops the recording, and pretty easy. So spacebar, stop, and then that looks pretty good. So now, the next thing I need to do is create a way for both of these tracks to stop without me needing to press the spacebar on stage. And how I do this is I create what's called a stop track. And so I'll go over here and insert a MIDI track. When I do this automatically, it already says stop on it. That's just the way we've made it. And how do you, I'm going to change this to green. That's the neon green. That's the color I use for the stop track. This is done on the Mac by using an IAC bus driver. It's a way of assigning certain triggers, like universal triggers, to a MIDI note. And so I'll go over here and create a MIDI note. You just highlight a measure, press Shift Command M for MIDI, and we'll create a MIDI file right there, a stem. And then down here, I actually just add a note. You can see a keyboard on the side, and let me make this one whole bar, like one measure. And then I'm just going to double click on an area. Any note is fine, just double click. And you can see here at the top it made a MIDI note. So I can close this. And now what I want to do is assign a universal trigger, like a stop button, to this actual MIDI note. This is really easy to do, even though it sounds complicated. You go here and press MIDI, and that allows me to assign MIDI triggers. And I go over here and press stop because that's what I want to happen when I hit that MIDI note. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play this timeline. I've got my
End.
cursor up there on the stop, and right when it hits that MIDI note, I'm going to press it. Boom. And then I'm going to press spacebar to stop it. You can see it made a little note up there, a little MIDI assignment. I'm going to turn this off and let's see what it sounds like. Let me turn the guide down here. It was super loud. Okay, the guide is off. Now let's play, and watch how this just stops automatically when it hits that note. Boom. And so I don't need to press the spacebar to stop the timeline. It will just stop automatically. And that's the easiest way that I've found when you're doing sequences of songs to have them stop. Okay, so now I need to add 2 more songs. My next song is His Mercy Is More. This will come after the scripture reading and prayer, followed by Over and Unlocking My Redeemer. So I'm going to add a locator. Add locator. I'm going to press number 3 because it's the 3rd song, and title it His Mercy Is More. I'm going to assign a key path to it, the number 3. Press key, click on that arrow, and then press 3. And it assigns a key path to it. Unselect that, and then I'm going to go over here and you scroll up first and zoom out. I'm going to go up here and find His Mercy Is More. There it is, 122 BPM, 3/4 time in G. We actually do this in F, as you'll see when I drop it in here. So there's the file. Drag it into the area. It'll drop it in. There it is. I'm going to go ahead and select all of this. You can just drag and select all of those files. Command X to cut. Press number 3, which will automatically put it at the place where it needs to go. Command V to paste. And next I'm going to, I'm actually going to keep the click track out of the top portion here, but I'm going to add the other tracks up there just to make it a little bit more fluid, make it a bit more clean, at least the timeline to look clean. So I'm going to press M3 and then Command V to paste those files in there. And then these, I've got some space here now, and I'm going to go ahead and, normally the click track goes up there, but I'm going to keep it down here because it's a specific one for this song, and I don't want it to be the same as the other click tracks. I'm going to delete these ones that I no longer need because I moved them. I'm going to make this, I'm going to delete, I've got this song in G and in F, but we do it in F, so I'm going to delete the G file. I'm going to change these so that they're all the same color. It's just helpful, at least from my vantage point. Make sure that stem is exactly right. And now I'm going to group them. Command G to group, Command R to rename. I'm going to call it as More Sweet as More. And then that song is added and done. And now what I need to do is, just like the previous song, figure out where I want to add the next song, where I want it to begin. And the best way to do that is just to kind of play this, figure out where it's going to end. Let me turn this down a little bit, just like the loud, is to figure out where it's going to end, and then anticipate when would be a good time to start the next song. So you can see we have a little retard there at the end, and so we'll finish it over there, which means I probably want to start, this next song's very slow, so I probably want to start a little bit later here, so that's not such an abrupt change. So I have that right here. Call it song number 4, O Lord, my rock and my redeemer. And then when that is key path, just like the rear song, press the arrow there, press number 4, there's my key path. Okay, I'm going to unselect the key path, and I'm going to go ahead and scroll up and then add this song. This will be the final song for the morning set, in which we're using Ableton, at least. And so let's grab this and bring it over. There's all of this song, and then I'm going to highlight all of it. I'm going to press Command X to cut it, press number 4, which perfectly puts it on my timeline, Command V to paste. And there it is. Now this time I'm just going to grab all of these top 4 tracks, and I'm going to cut them out. So I'm going to pick them up at number 4 where all the others are. And what that does, it just keeps the timeline looking clean. You don't always have to do this, but for me, it keeps it looking clean. I'm just checking that. Click, make sure it's not unusual, and delete these on the right. And then, I don't need atmosphere here, so I'm going to delete that. I'm going to group the tracks here that are for this new song. Command G, groups, and then Command R, title of the Lord my rock. And then the timeline looks nice and clean. Now I want to zoom in here and make sure this flows nicely from one song to the next. Okay, so it begins and starts there. That's maybe a bit too much time. So I think what I want to do is move this back a little bit. Maybe about right there. I'm going to zoom in. Let me show you how I do this. I just highlight the space between them, and then press Shift Command Delete, and it will delete that section without deleting the entire timeline. However, it creates a hard break on this track that I had, this key of F track. So if I delete that break, cuts it in part, and then drag it over. Let me just do a fade here. Bring that down. If I can drag this over a little bit farther, and, so that this organ fades out nicely on his mercies more, but continues a little bit into the next song, and hopefully makes the transition smooth. And then it starts the new song.
Intro.
Good to go. I think that will work. Okay, so let me minimize all this. I'm going to scroll up. Well, actually, I have to add a stop time first. So instead of creating another MIDI note right here, what I'm going to do is just grab the other one, copy it, and paste it in this new location. So it's up here in the timeline. There's the first one I made. I'm just going to copy this, Command C, go to the end of the timeline, go to the same spot. This is where the song ends. Command V, and then I've added the stop track. Let's just test it. Now it stops. See, so good to go. Pretty easy. So I'm going to scroll up, and there is an entire service in which I use Ableton actually. And there's one more song which we won't use Ableton. I've already titled it the right thing, so I'm going to go ahead and save. And that should be about it for this. Go ahead and stop so that it's at the beginning, save, and now we are good to go.